I'm Jill at the Yankton Community Library, and I wanted to share a few of my favorite books that I've read this year with you here today that we currently have in the library, and hopefully you'll want to check one of these books out. So the first book I'm going to share with you is called The Promise of Stardust, and this is by Priscilla Sibley. It was published back in 2013, so it's not a new book, but still really, really good. We have the paperback copy here in the library right now. And the main characters in this book are Matt and Elle Bellew, and it kind of follows their love story, and they're married and desperately wanting to start a family, but they've suffered several miscarriages. The story actually opens right after Elle has tragically suffered a brain injury due to an accident, and it's left her brain dead. And her husband, Matt, who's a doctor, understands that he really needs to let her go. There's nothing they can really do to save her at that point. But he changes his mind when he discovers that Elle is actually again pregnant. And so he wants to keep her on life support long enough to potentially try to save their child. So as a result of this, a battle ensues between Matt and some of the other family members who do not believe that Elle would want to be kept alive on life support, including his own mother. So, of course, this is a hugely challenging time and a very hard thing to consider and deal with. But the thing that I really loved about this book is that over the course of these challenging decisions that need to be made, Matt and Elle's love story is really told through the journals and the letters that she's left behind that he starts to peruse in terms of really trying to determine what Elle would really want. And so this is a really great book. I'm not going to ruin the ending for you because you should read it. So The Promise of Stardust. The next one I'm going to share with you is called The Exiles by Christina Baker Klein. You might recognize that author. She had another popular book back in 2013 called Orphan Train. Here in the library we do have the regular print book of this, but we also have a large print version right now. The large print is currently checked out, but the setting of this is a combination of England and Australia in the 1840s, and this really kind of gave me a fresh perspective on the colonization of Australia. I knew a little bit about it, but learned a lot more through this book, and it tells the tale of hardship and oppression, as well as hope and opportunity through the experiences of three separate women whose lives intersect over the course of this book. And we have Evangeline, who's a naive young governess who is wrongfully accused of a crime and is sentenced to prison, and is eventually sentenced to transport to Van Diemen's Land, which is a penal colony in Australia that actually existed at this point in time. Then there's Hazel, who's a teenage girl who was also sentenced to 7 years on Van Diemen's Land for stealing a silver spoon. And then the last woman whose life is within this story is Mathina, and she's the orphan daughter of the chief of an Australian Aboriginal tribe, and she's been adopted by the new governor of Van Diemen's Land. So overall, this book is just really beautifully written, and it's both heart-wrenching and heartwarming at the same time. So highly recommend this book as well. And then the last book I wanted to share with you is called Every Note Played by Lisa Genova. And this was published in 2018. Again, you might recognize that name. She had another popular book called Still Alice, which has also been converted into a movie. And we have the print book as well as a CD book here in the library. And the main characters in this book are Richard, who's an accomplished concert pianist, and he develops ALS, and the disease quickly takes over his body and his life. And then there's Corinna, which is his ex-wife. She herself is still really struggling to move on with her life and find her own level of fulfillment. And in the scope of all of this, she ends up being Richard's reluctant caretaker. So this one is really an emotional roller coaster of blame and anger and fear, as well as compassion and understanding and forgiveness. And my favorite part about this book was that it really helped me learn a lot about ALS and what a terrible disease that really is and how it impacts the person and the people that they love around them. So 3 great books. Again, we have copies in the library right now here at the Yankton Library. So hope you'll stop by and check one of those out. Thank you.